All right, the fallout from those protests, we're getting word of at least 13 federal judges warning they are not necessarily eager to hire law clerks from Columbia University, saying the university has become what they call an incubator of bigotry. Some people interpret that as being a bit unfair because they seem to be targeting whether you were part of these protests or not. Jonas joins us right now, the Columbia University student. He's in his junior year. He's still taking his exams. Says he's going to return for his senior year at Columbia. Jonas, very good to have you.
Thank you for having me.
What do you think, we were chatting briefly about it, Jonas, what these judges are saying? No one from Columbia.
Well, I think that they have a point in that this is maybe an incubator of anti-Israel hate, and the school maybe hasn't been doing enough to combat anti-Semitism.
But why take it out on that?
Well, exactly. I don't think that this is a problem that is unique to Columbia. This is a problem that is plaguing the Ivy League. I think that targeting Columbia might make sense because it's in the news right now. And these kinds of boycotts have been shown to be effective at other law schools. But I think targeting undergrads might be going a bit too far just because there's so many of us.
Yeah, I thought that they were going to really say those who are taking part in the protest or those who are leading or saying the anti-Semitic comments and all that. That doesn't appear. It does seem to be widespread. What are you studying? You're not a law student. You are what? What's your major?
Yeah, so I'm an undergraduate. I study political science and economics.
Okay, and no fallout from any potential bosses down the road there?
No, not necessarily. In fact, since I'm in the political and journalism sphere, they're actually very, very interested in hearing, my perspective and my reporting on what's going on campus.
Yeah, your reporting has been pretty stellar on this. So you are very fair and balanced about that. But let me ask you a little bit about just being a Columbia student these days. Like I said, you're in your junior year, going to be a senior. You still want to be a senior at Columbia?
Absolutely.
Why?
I think that even with everything going on, it's important as ever for college students, particularly Columbia students who are impacted by this, or maybe even part of this on either the Israel or the Palestine side, to actually come together and talk about these issues and to return in the fall, hopefully in a more peaceful environment, hopefully in an environment where we're not occupying the lawns or occupying Hamilton Hall, doing peaceful protests, doing protests that's within the university rules, and have dialogue about this conflict, which I'm sure is still going to be an issue we're talking about in the fall semester.
Well, you're a very calm, reasoned young man. We don't see that out of all your students, particularly those who are protesting. And you're probably right that this doesn't represent the view of all the students there, but it must make life difficult on campus for you.
I would say so. The campus environment, particularly from the student body, is very, very hostile. It is the echo chamber that you see
personally?
in the news. On me personally, but also on everybody else. I go out, I report, I call into news stations and I tell them what's going on at Columbia. Hey, students are getting arrested, students are protesting. And just because I am, sometimes share my perspective, or I sometimes, tell the truth about what's going on, people will come after you. And that's the unfortunate reality.
Fellow students?
Fellow students on social media.
What about professors?
Professors, I've been lucky enough to avoid that, but I have heard cases where professors have unfairly targeted pro-Israel students.
What do your parents say? Are they worried for you?
I think they're worried about the state of Columbia and the state of elite higher education in general. This is not something that they ever imagined. They're immigrants from China, which is actually a repressive regime.
Right.
And here we have these students who are chanting for the destruction of Israel, but not just Israel. It's anti-West, it's anti-American at the end of the day. It's devolved from what used to be a pro-ceasefire movement to anti-Israel, sometimes pro-Hamas, and now just, anti-establishment, anti-American.
Do some of your Jewish friends, do they feel like the school really is anti-Semitic?
I think that a lot of them do believe that, and I do think that there is sufficient evidence, at least from their personal experiences, to support that. It doesn't take much to create a hostile environment, especially at a place like Columbia, for Jewish students. And keep in mind that we're in New York City, and most students don't live within the security of the campus gates. Even if the school controls what's going on within the gates, they're still encountering these protests, these horrific protests that are going on outside campus gates. Yesterday was a very sacred day for the Jewish community, and there was they announced a day of rage protest for Gaza, given the impending invasion of Rafah, and that's something that people had to encounter when they were walking up and down the street, and it's just an awful situation for a lot of them.
Well, thanks for keeping us posted. Jonas to Columbia University, a junior, still heading into his senior year and still at Columbia, right?
Thank you.
All right, very good seeing you.